Gervonta Davis goes off on Inoue for all these fight rumors. A lot of people are saying, Tank should fight Inoue. Tank should get in there with Inoue after the biggest performance of his life. Becoming undisputed in 2 fights is something that Inoue was able to do, and I can't name another fighter that's done that. I don't think anyone has ever done that in the sport of boxing, but for Inoue to do it, and the way that he gets his opponents out of there and has managed to stop them all, you could argue that he's the best fighter in the world right now. And I think it's between him and Terrence Crawford, pound for pound, best fighter in the world. I wouldn't be mad for either case being made. I think both guys have, a solid case for the best fighter in the world. But in terms of, Tank fighting Inoue, Tank's obviously getting a little annoyed because Tank's campaigning at 35 comfortably, and, he's expected to eventually go to 140 in the near future. And then you have a guy like Inoue who's fighting, 22, 26, could potentially go to 30. When he gets to 30, we haven't really seen him fight at 30, but if you were to go to 35, that's a completely different animal. So for everybody talking about Tank fight Inoue, it's not going to happen. I really don't see it happening. And Inoue's been very respectful. He speaks very highly of Gervonta Davis, and Tank is just getting annoyed because obviously on social media, people like to throw any opponent out there for a guy like Tank. Whoever's popping right now, and right now Inoue's popping, so people are obviously and naturally going to say, Tank should fight Inoue, but in reality, that's not a realistic fight for Tank to take because, like Tank said, Inoue's not anywhere near his weight class. It's like even going to 30 for Inoue is pushing it, and we haven't seen him fight at 30. So to talk about him fighting a guy at 35 is just, a bit of a waste of time. I get it. It's one of those fantasy fights, I think. I think it's one of those dream matchups that people would like to see just because of how exciting both fighters are. They're both explosive, both big power punchers, but at the end of the day, you could compare these guys, pound for pound, who's better, and I'd argue that Inoue has the better resume. I think most of you guys would agree with that, but Tank sells out, in the United States, and he has a big following within the sport of boxing, and he's been able to generate 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, and that's something Inoue hasn't been able to do. Alongside Ryan Garcia, he deserves his credit as well, but there's also that element of, Tank's bringing a lot of fans. Inoue's a big name within the sport of boxing, but Tank is kind of evolving into a bigger name outside of the sport as well, and people are really excited to see him fight. He sells out arenas, he puts on these big performances, and a lot of you guys are going to say, who is he fighting? But at the end of the day, he's still fighting great fighters. He's making big fights happen, but you could argue they're not the most competitive and challenging fights for him, and I would agree with you on that. But you have to respect that Tank is selling out arenas, and the performances he's putting on are exciting, and he knows what fights to take with the lowest amount of risk that are still going to make a lot of money. And for me, you could talk about that not being a great, if you're taking that route by taking the lowest risk with the most amount of money and making big fights happen, but you're not fighting the best of the best. It's a business move. Boxing's a business. He's going to make that money first. I don't think that Tank's not going to fight Shakur and Devin. I think he's just allowing that fight to build up a little more, and when people really demand it, and right now I don't think people are demanding it enough. I think we all want to see Devin and Tank. We want to see Tank and Shakur, but when the people ask for it and really start roasting Tank, and I think that it's starting to get to that point where people are really calling for Tank to fight guys like Shakur and Devin, but it's just starting. I think once it gets to the pinnacle and to the point where Tank can't ignore it anymore, he's going to make those fights happen, but he wants to make sure that he's milking the financial outcome of these fights. He's building it as high as he can so that when he makes the fight happen, win, lose, or draw, he's going to make his money. And I know that he believes in himself and believes that he can beat these fighters, and they're all winnable fights for him. It's just, as boxing fans, we want to see him in there with Shakur. We want to see him in there with Tank. Even of Vasily Lomachenko, the winner of Kambosos and Loma, that's a good fight for him if he wants to stay at 35. But Haney is going to be at 40. There's no shot that Haney's coming back to 35. So the possibility of Tank and Haney at 135 pounds is out of the question. It's only going to take place if Tank goes up to 140. And it's a risky move considering the fact that Devin's the bigger guy. You want to take every advantage away that you can from a business perspective. And, what Tank has been doing with the rehydration clauses and, the catch weights, who knows what he'd be willing to do, if he'd even be willing to entertain a fight at 140 with Devin Haney. I know that he's fought there before, but this would be against the prime Devin Haney where he has a lot to lose, let's be real, because of the history, because of the infamous doghouse sparring. This fight between Devin and Tank is going to be built up so much to the point where there's too much history. There's a lot on the line, and Tank has a lot to lose in this fight. That's bottom line. And if he really wants to make the fight happen, he's going to go up to 140 and fight Devin. But that's up to him and his people. If he wants to make a 139-pound catch weight, something like that, and then add a rehydration clause, who knows? You know, Tank is a shot caller. Even though he doesn't technically have a belt at 35, he has all that leverage because at the end of the day, he's a superstar in the sport. So it'll be interesting to see if Devin and Tank are able to make a fight happen. It's sounding like Devin and Ryan right now, but let's shut down all that Inoue and Tank talk because I really don't think it's going to happen. So, like, what's the point of talking about it? But in terms of comparing their styles, I understand it would be an interesting, fantasy fight, but it doesn't go down, at least not anytime soon. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Haney, Tank, who you guys got? I got two predictions. I got a Haney decision or a Tank knockout. I think Tank has more ways to win, but Haney might be a little bit sharper, and we haven't seen Tank against that slick, hit and don't get hit kind of style that Devin Haney possesses. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting fight no matter what. But Haney, Tank, Inoue, Tank, all these discussions are, circulating around the boxing world right now. So let me know in the comments what you guys think should be next for Tank. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
That's going to do it for another Nads Fight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.